Nintendo is just ripping people off. I don't know a more coy way to say this, but we're going to talk about the drama because one of the biggest controversies about the Nintendo Switch 2, besides the price of the system itself and the $100 Joy-Cons and stuff, is people talking about the fact that the original Nintendo Switch was such a bastion of buy it physical. The fact that when you bought an actual Nintendo Switch game for the Switch 1, the entire data was on the cart. 99% of them, you get it. This thing, well, it may require updates and stuff. If there's some bug fixes and stuff, you could buy this. And with no internet connection, I can pop this directly into my Switch and beat the entire game. In fact, it doesn't even need to install a lot of times. It literally is just the game on the cart. Plug it, play it instantly. Whereas there were a couple games that people didn't like, but they did exist, that had this big banner on top that says, hey, this requires an internet download. This is what people call a game key. It's not really here. This is a little token, essentially. By putting this into your Nintendo Switch, it allows you to play the game, but all the storage, all the data is being downloaded off the internet. At this point, you might as well buy it digitally because the physical cart doesn't do a damn thing. Well, Nintendo just opened up the pre-orders in other regions of the world for the Nintendo Switch 2, and they admitted that pretty much every single Nintendo Switch 2 game isn't real. None of them are actually on the cart. The carts themselves are all empty. And people are very, very mad. Even big collectors, people are talking about the fact that they're not going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2. I'm even seeing a ton of people saying that this defeats the purpose of even having a cartridge slot. But let's talk and let's take a look at a lot of angry reactions. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, this is something that just popped up on my timeline, and I saw a ton of people just so confused and pissed because it seems so anti-Nintendo, a company that has very much built its legacy, this entire console generation, for the last almost 8 years. One of the things people would basically collect the Nintendo Switch for is that when you get an Xbox game, the disc is empty. I mean, none of the data is actually on the disc. You pop the disc in and it downloads it. Same with PlayStation 5. There's a couple PS5 games that are complete, but 95% they're not actually in the box. And that does suck. The box is essentially just for your shelf to point at when hookers come over, right? Well, this thing, Switch 2 pre-orders have gone up in Japan for a few hours, revealing that all physical third-party games so far, except for Cyberpunk 2077, are not Nintendo Switch 2 editions. They're shipping with game key cards, meaning that literally there's nothing on it. This is $80 games. In some cases, if you want to get the Switch 2 edition of like Zelda, that thing, if you want the DLC, that's $90. That means that all of these are essentially useless. How can you upcharge? How can you act like this is the next generation of Nintendo if you don't even care about putting something on it? Now, even the instant replies are like, bro, then this isn't a physical release. Like, it's gross. This is literally not what a physical release is. So key cards require the cartridge to be in the console, even though you're downloading the entire game. At this point, just buy it digitally so I can save my slot for the real games I actually have. This is a terrible offer by Nintendo. People are calling it the awful edition. I love that. But I wanted to go through here because so many people are like, okay, so Nintendo Switch 2 runs games worse. Some people are saying these comparisons are not very flattering. Some games like Cyberpunk and spots run at 23 FPS. But my thing is that, okay, you're playing it on a tablet. I still want the ability to plug and play. That if I'm on a flight or something, I can buy a game, pop it in, and play it. And that's just not the case. This is the absolute worst. All we can do is vote with our wallets and hope that Nintendo gets the message. That is my big fear, is that as I record this video, technically the pre-orders are about to go live here in 5.5 hours. And when they go up, I do have a feeling that early on, I think there will be a big push for pre-orders. I still, and I could be just drinking the internet Kool-Aid here, I do still feel like there is a good chance that a lot of people are not going to get the Nintendo Switch 2. I feel like after that opening push of pre-orders, I do feel like a lot of the sales, especially of these $80 games, is going to kind of go off a cliff. So many game key cards. they're really making it difficult for physical collectors to jump on board. It seems more and more likely that you just got to be a Switch 2 primarily for the few first-party games and get third-party releases elsewhere. This is a point that honestly I hadn't even considered. One of the things that made the Nintendo Switch so incredibly popular, and there's a lot of data to back this up, is that a lot of people who had fallen out of gaming picked it back up. Say you have kids, you travel a lot, you're not going to want, a PlayStation 5 because, hey, it's really dang expensive. And also, if it requires a TV, if it requires setup time, you're kind of getting it because the Nintendo Switch is the cheapest console at the time, and the games, honestly, they were big. They were great. Playing Splatoon and playing Zelda and playing Mario Odyssey and collecting all those stars and stuff, it perpetually felt awesome. But there was also the thing of that, hey, you wanted to get this because it was a way to play on the go. But since then, I know a lot of people went from only owning the Nintendo Switch and nothing else. After they kind of got bored of the Nintendo Switch, they went, okay, maybe I will pick up a PlayStation 5. Maybe I will build a gaming PC. And I do think it's interesting that a lot of people now, if it's like, okay, I can play this on my Nintendo Switch, but it's not going to look very good, I might as well play it on my Steam Deck. I might as well play it on my PC. There's a lot of better ways to play it, even when it comes to handhelds. But let me keep going here because I think this is interesting. If any publishers or indies are looking at the cost of the 64 gig game cards on the Switch and doubting your margins, increase the price, make it a proper release, and stand out from the pack. Contact us at PlayAsia if you're doubtful. We're looking to approach it ourselves. This is one of the people that is the head of marketing over at PlayAsia. Now, in case you didn't know it, PlayAsia especially, they do overseas imports, exports, and stuff. In other parts of the world, there's actually specific laws where if you're selling a game, you have to make a complete on-disc physical. There has to be some version of it. So a lot of times, I own a couple Japanese games and stuff. It's pretty common for collectors to have to import some stuff. Like Final Fantasy III, because of PlayAsia and stuff, there ended up being a way to import other games in other regions and play them, right? But it is interesting to me that basically the 64 gig card, some people are thinking that, okay, that's, $8 of the production cost right now. Maybe they're afraid to charge $78 for the game instead of $70. So they're just going to make it an empty microchip and sell it like it's a normal game. This, to me, I do think is actually going to blow up in their faces. And I think about stuff like this because this is Woodhawker. Woodhawker is, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased. He's a personal friend of mine. I've gone on his podcast and stuff. I think he is legitimately the best Nintendo YouTuber. I'm not hating on anybody else. This guy is hype. He's genuine. He beats the games. He streams beating the hell out of all the games. The dude cares not just about the games. He cares about collecting. I've been in this room. The guy has pretty much every Nintendo Switch game you could possibly imagine. If this guy is saying, okay, this is super disappointing, I was planning on buying half of these. Was planning. Meaning that at this point, even he, as a collector, as a guy who could write it off on his taxes, is basically like, okay, I'm not buying a bunch of empty boxes with the code inside. I don't care how fancy the box art is. I don't care if it comes with an instruction manual. There's no point to buy all these empty boxes. Especially because I'm still in the fact that it does feel like every company has realized that you can gouge the Switch fans. Look at this. They're re-releasing the original Hogwarts Legacy. This is not Hogwarts Legacy 2. This is just Hogwarts Legacy, and they're releasing it for full price. So they're basically, okay, so you can't upgrade the Switch 1 version. You have to buy the whole game a second time. Why is Nintendo Switch 2 so launch cursed? So many horrible decisions and greed. This is something that keeps sticking in my mind, is that every single day I'm making videos about another bad Nintendo Switch headline. And people keep saying, how is there always something to talk about? And I think it's that they're perpetually trying to trip over their own feet in order to make the most money profitable. They don't care if it screws over their fans. They don't care if it makes you mad. As long as that money shows up, they're going to keep just shoving these crappy deals in your face. Screw these. So sad to see the successor of the Switch, which was a bastion for physical games, shockingly being the most anti-physical platform. This is the last tweet I have here, and it's the one that kind of stuck with me the most, which is that this is why I'm not getting the Nintendo Switch 2. You gotta be effing kidding me. What's the point of making a physical box if the game is not even in there? It's just a key. I think that Nintendo has definitely gotten too big for their britches. It's something other people have reported on. I'm not, redefining the wheel, coming up with that same analysis, but it does feel like, in general, with every console generation especially, if you have overwhelming success, if you sell hundreds of millions of consoles and stuff, you get so full of yourself, so egotistical that you don't care about the product or the person or the connection to the consumer. Look, I know these people are just here to make money. Everybody's just here to make money. But at the end of the day, you can still care. You know that you could build up more trust, more love, more dedication if you're providing something that other people aren't. This, to me, is such a bad sign. It is such a sign of bad faith. Nintendo does not care about you. And I guess we're going to find out how those day one sales go. But at this point, I still feel like 2025 is going to be rough for Nintendo. But maybe that's cope. Thank you for watching. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.